this video, we're going to talk about the 5 main types of foundation types. These are strip, trench, pad, raft, and pile foundations. Hi, my name's Jim J. Davidson, and I'm a property developer, international award-winning speaker, and I first invested in property in 1973. By 1983, I was able to take my property profits and start a convenience store chain. Over the next few years, I built that up to 4 stores and a petrol station before moving off to live in Florida. Returned to the UK in 2000 and established my company Fineside Developments. Fineside Developments then produced its first new build in 2006. I've seen many ups and downs of the property industry over the years. Having said that, as much as I've been involved in property and business over the years, I don't know everything. But what I do know, I hope I can share with you, and that will hopefully benefit you. So why do we have different types of foundations, and why is this important? Well, it's for 2 reasons. One is you want to select the right type of foundation from a cost point of view. The strip foundation is the cheapest type of foundation, but it may not perform the way that you need it to. So having the right type of foundation is to ensure the stability of your house, and therefore sometimes we have to spend more money on excavating and putting it in a more complicated foundation, but it's vitally important, obviously, to have the right type of foundation. And as we go through these different types, I'll explain to you what the differences are, and essentially what they're doing is solving problems with problem ground. So where does this fall in the roadmap to build a house? Well, clearly in terms of execution, it comes into the foundation stage. However, the decision of what type of foundations that you're going to install is going to come under the approve stage, which is within the planet phase of the roadmap. However, you would need to be aware of the implications of what type of foundations that you're going to be putting in the detail stage, because this is going to have a cost implication. Having said all of that, you may go to dig the foundations and find that you need to make a last minute change because you discover something that didn't come up in the ground investigation report. That's assuming you did do a ground investigation during the approved stage, which you may not have done, of course, and may not have deemed it necessary. However, that does open up the liability that you're going to discover something when you actually come to break ground and find that there's a problem there that you haven't actually resolved. So what foundations need is solid ground, and depending on how far down that solid ground is will determine the depth of the foundations. They need somewhere secure to sit on. So strip foundations is the lowest cost type of foundation and is the most easily achieved. So it's simply a case of filling the base of the foundation with concrete and taking this up to a minimum depth of 225 millimeters. And traditionally these are going to be about 600 wide if we're building a standard house. And from this, then the foundation walls are built up to the height of the ground floor. Trench fill foundations is essentially putting in more concrete into the space that you've dug out for the foundations. So it could be the same amount of space that you dug out for the strip foundations, except that instead of just putting in a lower strip of 225 to 300 millimeters, you're building it right up to almost the top. So considerably more expensive in terms of materials because you're putting in a lot more concrete. However, in terms of labor, it's going to be a lot less, because with the strip foundations, what you need to do is to build up those walls, and that means that your ground workers are going to have to get into the trench and build those spaces up, which can be quite difficult given the fact that they're working in a confined space. These will be used where there is perhaps a lot of trees nearby, high water table, and therefore which could affect the ground stability, and therefore you're giving a much stronger base in which to put your house. Now in fact you can go much further down with these, but once you get beyond about 2 meters, then you're probably wanting to look at another solution, and that might be pile foundations. These can be put in several ways. These are essentially pillars in the ground, so they can be driven into the ground with special machinery. So these will be handled by a specialist contractor who can drive in these cylindrical columns into the ground, and you can clearly go to a much deeper level than you would want to with the trench filled foundations. And because it's not a continuous piece of concrete, then it becomes more cost effective when you're going down to levels greater than 2 meters. They're then attached at the top with concrete beams, and you build then the foundations from there. Then when you have particularly unstable ground, such as in a mining area where there might be disused mine shafts, even current mine shafts, you might use a raft foundation. This is essentially a heavily reinforced concrete raft, and it is designed to be able to move in complete unison with the building, so it creates that stability. So if there's any slight movement, rather than the other types of foundations which might break away, this moves in one particular movement. As I said, it's heavily reinforced, is quite a heavy construction to put in place, but it may be the solution that you need. And another solution may be pad foundations. These will typically be used on houses with a more lightweight structure, such as a lightweight timber frame kit. These can be round or square in nature, and one of the advantages is that they use a lot less material, so it can be up to about 75% less concrete that they might use. However, they are a bit more difficult to dig, and therefore you have to ask the question, is in terms of labor costs, is that going to go up? But somebody who's maybe trying to build something by hand could easily dig out these foundations over a period of time. Then attached to these foundations, there's then posts. These can either be metal or they can be wooden. And in fact, when we come to in the next video, when we talk about the types of foundations that we've used in the house that we are developing, we're going to show you a use for pad foundations. In the previous video, I had said that we were going to show you the various types of foundations, and then us having dug out the trenches and filled them with concrete. Decided to do this in 2 parts, so the next video will contain that. So we've talked about in terms of the academic side, in terms of what types of foundations that you might want to consider, and so in the next video we're going to show you the practical side of the foundations that we've dug out for the house, and then we've filled them with concrete. And it's interesting to note that we've actually had to use 3 different types of foundations for this particular house. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. In the meantime, please like and share, and if you haven't subscribed already, then please do subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of the videos that are forthcoming. Look forward to seeing you soon.